Okay, so before we get into today's video, I just want to preface by saying that I am a provisional psychologist. I'm not yet fully registered. But in this video, I'm going to share how I got to this point because it was a journey. Hey guys, what's up? If you're currently studying psychology and you know you want to become a psychologist, but you're not really too sure what type of psychologist you want to be, you don't really know what you want to specialize in, or maybe you're just feeling really burned out from the workload, then this video is for you. I'm going to share how I became a psychologist in Australia by going down a really different road compared to my peers. I don't think that universities promote all the different pathways that you can take to become a psychologist as much as they should, and that's why I really want to share this story. First up, I'm going to talk about how I did things really differently to my peers during my undergrad, and I'm briefly going to touch on honours and debunk some myths. Then I'm going to talk about a bold move I made after honours that changed the trajectory of my life and why it was the best decision ever. And finally, I'll share with you guys what I'm doing now and some of the key lessons that stood out on my journey towards becoming a provisional psychologist. So I really hope this helps everybody to think outside that box, get bold and creative with your career, and have lots of life experiences. And remember to like and subscribe, it goes a long way, and I am so excited to build this community. With all of that said, let's get into the video. So during my undergrad, I actually dropped out of my studies halfway through because my best friend sadly died in a car crash. It was just a really rough time in my life. A lot of people were telling me to stick with my studies, but I was performing really poorly. My grades were extremely average. And while I knew that I liked psychology, I didn't really have an intrinsic drive for why I was pursuing this degree. It sort of felt a bit meaningless. So I took a semester off to figure this out, and I started working full-time as a behavioral technician helping children with autism. At the time I had no idea, but the skills that I was learning about was actually building that foundation that I still fall back on in my practice today. I was learning to become fluent in the language of behaviorism. And what I didn't know back then was that many modalities of therapy, like all the models that fit under the CBT umbrella, borrow principles from behaviorism. So everything that I was learning during this time off was relevant to my journey towards becoming a psychologist. And even though I wasn't too sure if I wanted to specialize in autism per se, I loved the skill set that I was using, and I began to realize this was a very similar skill set to what psychologists would use. So this became the match that I needed to spark that flame. I came back to uni the following year refreshed. I'm ready to bring it on. I made a whole other video about how I turned my grades from average to HD, so if you want, go and check that out after this one. But I'll also add that another benefit of taking time off from uni and becoming an expert in a skill set meant that I got to earn a high income as a student. I was only doing 3 units per semester, and by this point in my job, I received a promotion and I was managing teams of therapists. So I only needed to work about 14 hours per month to pay my bills and still live comfortably. And that's why I believe that if you need to take time off from uni, it doesn't necessarily mean that this is a bad thing or that you're falling behind. You could use this time to master a skill set relating to psychology, earn an income, and get a better idea of what you might want to do working as a psychologist. On another note, pacing myself with my undergrad also helped big time with my honours year. I made another video about how I approached honours and got a first class. There's lots of helpful resources in that one, including my thesis, so definitely be sure to check it out as well if you want after this one. But I do want to spend a little bit of time here debunking some of the myths around your honours year. A lot of students going into honours, at least back when I was at uni, looked at this year as being the hardest, the scariest, the most intimidating. The pressure was on. And while I can't tell you that it's not hard, because to some extent it is, what I can say is that it was the best year of my entire academic experience. Honours is designed to help you succeed. You'll get about 10 months to work on a massive assignment, aka your thesis, which is typically worth about 50% of your grade. So given the amount of time that you have to work on this project, it's highly likely that you're gonna do really well. And unlike your undergrad, you'll also be in a smaller cohort, so you'll have a lot of time to build close friendships and grow together on this journey. So go into that year knowing that it's gonna be hard, but also have an open mindset, get curious, and know that you're gonna have a lot of fun as well. Next up, I want to talk about why I left psychology for a period of my life. When I finished honours, I was so burned out from study, and I sort of felt like I didn't really know myself anymore. I also had other dreams outside of psychology, and I knew that my 20s was the time to do it. So in the lead up to graduation, I started looking for job opportunities overseas. I started networking with recruiters, and in the end, I was headhunted for a role working in the UK in education. It was a really scary and exciting decision to make. It all happened so quickly. I ended up quitting my job, and then I went on a backpacking trip around Asia that I'd already organized, and then I flew straight from there to the UK. And then I arrived in London where I didn't know anybody. I was literally starting my life over again from scratch. And it wasn't always easy. I don't want to romanticize it too much because it is hard to start your life over again in another city, let alone another country. But the great thing about it was that I was really forced to get to know myself. I went on all these little adventures, I let myself have some fun for once, and I got to recreate my identity all over again. The other great thing about this time in my life was that I got to try out different career paths. I helped a school set up an inclusion unit, which I ended up running with the help of an assistant psychologist, and I got to learn more about educational psychology in the UK. I also transitioned into people and culture, where I began to learn more about organizations, and I started networking with business psychologists. My world relating to psychology expanded beyond to what I knew during university. The bottom line is, moving overseas helped me get creative, and it helped me start to really dive into what I wanted to do with my career. Which brings me to what I'm doing now and the lessons that I learned on this crazy journey towards becoming a provisional psychologist. Basically, at the moment, I am doing the 4+2 internship program, which sadly has been phased out for future psychology students. I made it into this program just in the nick of time. The 4 years was my undergrad plus my honors year, and the 2 years is work experience, what I'm doing at the moment as a provisional psychologist with an organization. And what I love about this opportunity is that it's very practical, and I'm getting exposure to a really broad range of presentations. And my goal for this time in my life is to finally work out what I want to do for my endorsement or my PhD, depending on what I pick down the track. So if I was to sum up the things that I would say to my younger self who was just starting out her undergrad in psychology, these are the key insights. Number one, I'd say do your absolute best to avoid comparing yourself to other people. Becoming a psychologist is a very unique journey. The really difficult experiences that you have during your life will actually make you a better psychologist. So don't worry if it looks like you're falling behind. Number two, remember that it's okay to take your time. You don't have to rush the journey to become a psychologist. And honestly, I think that if you do, you can fall into the trap of burnout. I have seen it with other people time and time again. Embrace taking breaks and trying out different things. Make sure that your self-esteem doesn't just come from your career or your psychology student identity. And finally, number three, take risks. It's okay to go down a different track and not follow the crowd. It's going to feel uncomfortable, but if it connects to your values and your purpose, then you can't go wrong. And every time that I have gone down the different road against the crowd, it's helped me to excel. So embrace the discomfort and trust yourself. And yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up now because this video is getting really long. Thanks for sticking around if you have. Remember that if you'd like to have a chat with me, I'm really happy to talk to students. I'm gonna leave my email address down below if you want to get in touch. Also remember to like and subscribe, look after yourselves, and I'll see you in another video. Bye!